All right. Hello, everybody. How you doing? This is Dr. Phil Dieter again, coming back on CalChiro Live. I can't believe that we are all the way up to episode 22. It was an idea I couldn't, it was an idea that I created and or thought of. I borrowed from another group, and to see that we've made it to 22 episodes now has been tremendous. I'm super excited about bringing you today's guest and talking about some of the content that we're going to talk about. But before we get started, I wanted to just mention a couple of things. Hopefully, Tiffany will jump on here shortly and be able to post in the chat for us. But we've got some exciting stuff coming up here in the near future. We have our, part of today's guest, we're going to be talking about our pediatric conference, May 31st coming up. That's going to be outstanding. If you haven't been to, there it is. Perfect. Here we go. If you haven't been to the Central Coast area, it's really Shell Beach, California, but most people will know it as Pismo, the Pismo Beach area, Pismo Coast. The location and the property that we have is incredible. Hope we'll see you guys there. I definitely would recommend getting on the registration for the event. It's already starting to book up pretty quick. The room block, I don't know if I can increase the room block, to be honest with you. This is our first time doing this event, and we weren't sure how popular it would be. I definitely feel a lot of energy and enthusiasm around it, and we didn't get the hugest room block. So if you can, go and book your room as soon as possible so that you get one of those rooms. The price on the rooms is tremendous. The property is incredible. The speaker lineup is going to be fantastic. So you're not going to want to miss this. So I highly recommend that you take some time to get yourself signed up for that and book your room there, because they are going to be going fast. And I'm not sure that we can increase the room block. But anyways, we'll do it again too in the future. I know this is going to be, I already feel like this is going to be an event that lasts. So other than that, we just had our big legislative conference, still lobbying hard for chiropractic inclusion in the Affordable Care Act, still lobbying hard for creating a law for animal chiropractic. You should have seen your voter voice. There's some, if you have a Senate member that's in the Business and Professions Committee, our bill, SB 687, will be heard in the committee coming up on April 28th. So if you can help us and support us in writing letters, going and speaking with legislators, reach out to me. I'm happy to get you connected with people. And, now is go time, right? If you're an animal chiropractor, this is your livelihood. This is the time for you to, get keyed in or get clued in to what's going on. Advocate for yourself. So really advocate for your livelihood. So hope we can get more support in that regard for what's coming up. As always, check your website for the updates, calchiro.org. If you're signing up for events, make sure you're going to CE21, you're establishing your account, you're logging into your account so that you can sign up and get credit. Oh, nice. My boy, Dr. G, is here. Good to see Dr. G with us today. But that's how you get it done. We will hopefully see you, like I said, at an event coming up soon. But I wanted to introduce today's guest. Let me get him on here real quick. This is Dr. Dan Bronstein. Dr. Dan Bronstein, how you doing today, sir? Can you hear me okay? All right.
Good, man. Thanks for having me, Phil. I'm excited about this.
Excellent.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, you were it was a little broken up there for a second. Now I can hear you a little better. A little choppy on the video, but we'll get through it. I wanted you guys to meet Dr. Bronstein because he's really been the impetus behind this chiropractic pediatric symposium that we've created. Dan is a past board member. He's a pediatric advocate, just tremendous guy, brings a lot of fire. I love his passion and all of that kind of stuff. So I wanted you to get a chance to meet him and he reached out to me. This is probably about 6 or 7 months ago now and said, hey, we need to do something pediatric focused here in California. And I said, cool, let's do it. So tell us a little bit about your idea behind the event, Dan, and, how it came to be.
Yeah. So those of you guys who take care of kids know that for the past like 5, 6, we've been boxed out of continuing ed. And the reason is because, as you guys know, continuing education has gotten vastly more expensive. It's a lot harder for our organizations to justify paying $2,100, for one seminar in California, when they have to get continuing ed throughout the other 49 states. So, I have a diplomate in pediatrics, the Academy Council of Chiropractic Pediatrics, and I've been involved with the ICPA for my entire career. And, I really wanted to see if there's a way that we could collaborate to bring continuing ed back to California for those of us who take care of lots of kids like me. So, I talked to Justin Ohm, who's the chair of the ICPA, and said, "Hey, Justin, what do you think?" And he was all over it. I think he recognizes the fact that California is a very saturated, market. We've got, I don't know, like 15,000 chiropractors in the state, Phil.
Yeah. 12,
and
12.
There's a lot of docs. 12. Yeah. There's a lot of docs who take care of kids who have to go get continuing ed and like trigger point therapy or like, documentate, like, I mean, stuff that you need, but stuff that is like less important to their type of practice than like adjustive technique in pediatrics, for example, or like, my subspecialty is in latching and feeding. So I would love to have, a latching and feeding expert come and talk about standard of care in that type of work, hard palate work, cranial sacral work, et cetera. So reached out to you, Phil. I said, what do you think? I coordinated with a couple other docs back east who have done similar events like this, and then it was off to the races. And we've got a beautiful freaking venue. I mean, Phil was saying, like, he was bearing the lead on this. The Cliffs is one of the nicest hotels in the entire state. It's right on the ocean. It's beautiful. Yeah. We've got the most amazing speakers. All of them are personal friends. We handpicked each speaker to come out. They're all California-based docs, and even if you don't see kids right now, but you're interested to learn more about pediatrics, like this is a must-do event for you guys. It's going to blow your socks off.
This is awesome, man. I'm so excited. And, when I think about adjusting kids and pediatric care, I mean, I'm a kid of a chiropractor, so I've been getting adjusted my whole life. I've really known no different, but one of the things I really appreciate about you is how you talk about the importance of getting that advanced education, getting that specialized education. So talk a little bit about, the importance of that. And I mean, you could touch on some of that. We have a latching and feeding person coming right on May 31st. So talk a little bit about the importance of that for our audience today.
Yeah. So as is the case with any special population, training is crucial, right? Because you can't just roll up to your office one day and say, I want to take care of kids and see what happens. I know a lot of chiros who do.
Yeah.
That's neither here nor there. But I have people ask me all the time, like, what do I do to get started? How do I learn more, so we can open that marketing faucet and start expanding our scope and seeing more kids. And my recommendation is always the same thing. It's always start with Webster. Start with Webster with the ICPA. Go take a course with Pam, with Jen, with Steph. There's 4 instructors for Webster now since Jeannie passed away a few years ago, and they all are doing a great job in honoring her memory and bringing the content that is really important. I'm actually going to recertify this coming weekend. I'm driving up to the Bay at Life West tomorrow. So there might still be time if you guys are hearing this and you want to go learn Webster and you want to go up to the Bay, go to the ICPA, register online, and we'll see you there. But start with Webster, and then if you want to see kids on a large scale in your office, it's crucial that you go through and get the certification. The certification with the ICPA is a 200-hour case or course load, and it took me about 2 years to get through everything. Yeah. But it's like whenever I refer people to pediatric chiropractors, that's like minimum competency for me. It's mandatory that they have that certification because I know what they've been through in order to get that caliber of training. So that's how I would start if I were you.
Well, can you talk a little bit or just go a little deeper on like what are some of the things, like the nuances, the particularities that you think are important to pay attention to and why you would need that next level of education, right? Like share with us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, that's a really good question, Phil. So obviously little spines are not just miniature adult spines.
Sure.
There's biomechanical considerations, there's neurological considerations, there's adjusting a baby. You have to deal with baby crying, you have to deal with the baby wiggling and moving. You've got to know your primitive neurology, your biodevelopmental neurology. You got to know what primitive reflexes look like, so you can tell that what you're doing is actually working, or if it's not working. You need to have a solid physical examination, and you need to know what to look for there. And that all takes separate training, because you're not doing like Jackson compression tests on babies, right?
Right.
But all that stuff is important to know, because you need to know that what you're doing is actually working. It's really funny, because like I studied with a lot of pediatric chiropractors. Like Monica Berger is a name that comes to the surface. Monica, I love her to death. I was talking to her last night briefly, because she's coordinating with Heidi Havik, who's another one of my favorite chiropractors on the planet. But Monica is brilliant with functional med. I don't do a lot of functional med in my office, but I know enough about it so that if I see something that's funky, I'll refer them to my functional med guy locally, so that we can co-manage that patient. Yeah. Right. All that stuff is really, really crucial. The other thing I think it's really important to understand is that, oh, hey, Joe, good to see you. Chiropractic works really well. It works astoundingly well, especially when you know how to locate, analyze, and correct vertebral subluxations correctly. So if you have certainty in your ability to do that, in my practice, when I take care of babies, that's my value stack. It's chiropractic. I don't do any therapies. I don't do functional med. I don't do anything. And 99% of the time, it works exactly the way that you want it to. But that comes from 15 years of doing this over and over and over again. So, and again, it goes back to ICPA, it goes back to CACCPs, all that stuff. So.
No, I think that's a great point, because kids can't tell you what's going on oftentimes, right? Especially if they aren't verbal, or, haven't learned how to walk, or, those kind of things yet. So you get to see, it's a good minimization. You get to minimize the variables, right? And, they can't tell you what's wrong. But you touched on something else that I really want you to expand upon, and just give us sort of your best practices and how you handle this. You talked about referring out and co-managing. I think that's an important piece of the puzzle that people need to hear more about, because my sort of rule of thumb is, I don't like the wiggly ones. I don't do well in that environment. If there's too much crying, it gets me distracted, kind of thing. So if you're 7, 8, maybe 9 years old, and, I can get you to sit still, and you're an athletic kid that is playing Little League or something, like that's, I feel like, in my wheelhouse. But, outside of that, I'm looking for opportunities to refer to people like you who have the advanced training. So touch on that concept a little bit, and just the importance of that.
Yeah. I mean, the question that I ask anybody who says they want to get into pediatrics is, do you really want it? Because if from a pure business perspective, pediatric leads are worth about a third of what my adult decompression leads are worth. Okay. So in terms of like pure business, seeing a lot of kids is not as lucrative, right? It's got to be a labor of love. It's not to say that you can't, make, a good profit with that type of practice, but most of the guys that I know who take care of lots of kids are seeing a lot of volume, like my buddy Grant, I saw him at the Gathering a few years ago, and he said he was doing like 500 patient visits a week or something by himself, which is astounding to me. Yeah. But that's not my vibe. My vibe is to have more of a family practice. So I have like a 50-50 practice. Sure. And, I think when patients ask me, or not patients, when other docs ask me, like, how to get into it, that's kind of how I recommend they do it, right? Don't just jump feet first into a full-on pediatric practice. Slowly build up your tolerance and see if you like it. You gotta be okay with getting pooped on, with getting barfed on. You got to be okay with babies crying. I mean, when I'm really cranking in my office, when we're really busy, we're seeing about 20 to 30 patients at a time. I have all open adjusting, and it gets real chaotic back there. So you got to be cool with the chaos. If you're cool with the chaos, all your patients are cool with the chaos, it can start being really fun, because then you got other moms talking to each other, talking about like health related topics. You got kids, chiropractic kids playing with other chiropractic kids, which is really important because they don't get a chance to do that at school. All that stuff is really important. But again, you got to be okay with it. So, I mean, there are times when I talk to my team and I'm like, holy crap, what just happened in the office? And they're so good at their jobs that they'll sit down and like talk me off the ledge and say, don't worry about it. Like, everybody was cool. They love what was going on. They can handle it. So I think that's my best advice for people who are getting into it.
Now, do you think that something else that you just mentioned too, do all pediatric chiropractors necessarily work with new or expectant mothers, or is there kind of a dichotomy there where some people do work with kids, some people don't, or some people do work with mothers, some people don't?
That's a really good question, and that'd be a question for some of the other docs who do this work. That's the cool part about the training that we receive, is that you can kind of do whatever you want. I don't have a huge perinatal practice.
Yeah.
I love taking care of perinatal patients, but the midwives and OBs that I work with closely know that when they have a pregnant patient, they should send them to me when things get complicated. So
Right.
I have a lot of advanced training in perinatal care, and, you know, especially with like malpositions, for example, if a baby's breech or transverse,
Sure.
you know, that's when they send me pregnant patients. If it's a pregnant patient with like routine pelvic pain or back pain, there's like 2 or 3 other Webster doctors in my county who are a little bit less expensive and they're a little bit easier to get into, and
Sure.
we'll happily refer up to them. And their practices are much more robust in the perinatal side. So
Okay.
my niche is really narrow. Like I said, I have a specialty in latching and feeding. So the majority of my infants are latching and feeding cases. And then if a pregnant patient comes in and they've got a really complicated case, I'll take care of them as well.
Sure. Well, I think the other thing too, you know, tell people a little bit more if you aren't familiar with Webster, tell them a little bit more about Webster, because I think that's an important like specialty technique to be familiar with, about what it does, why it's important, those kind of things, how to find specialists in the Webster technique as well.
Say that again, Phil, specifically about Webster.
Yeah, I was just, we might have some people on here who don't know what Webster technique is. You know, not everybody gets the opportunity. I had I was very fortunate to be taught by Dr. Debbie Lindeman. You know, she was our gynecology and our pediatric professor. And, you know, she always talked, I still remember, she said the uterus is like a hot air balloon that sits in the pelvic bowl, and it's only anchored down by ligaments, right? And that's still something I remember. But if people might not know what Webster technique is, so maybe explain that a little bit and explain what Webster technique is good for and how they might find a Webster specialist.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So Webster, like I said before, is kind of like your entry into perinatal and pediatric care. Okay. It was developed by Larry Webster in the late 70s, and it was originally designed as a breech rotation technique, but we're really careful not to talk about that in those terms now, because OBs get pretty upset because they think we're doing ECVs in our offices, which couldn't be further from the truth. Can Webster still help with malposition? Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, we see rotations all the time in our office, but Webster by design is a diversified pelvic adjustment that's designed to level the pelvis. So what happens is, if a baby's breech, specifically, what we know physiologically and biomechanically is that babies have a hard time tucking their chin in order to go vertex. And Webster, which is a very well-researched protocol, it's made up of 6 basic steps, allows you to create more room in the pelvic bowl so baby can tuck their chin and rotate into a vertex position. So you can learn Webster in one day. And as long as you know it and you do the protocol repeatedly, then you'll do great. Now, again, in complicated cases, it takes a little bit more than that. But in most of your cases, that's enough for most pregnant pelvises.
Now, have you studied much about Ruck's level pelvis method? Have you heard
No,
of
never heard of that.
It's Bill Ruck. He's another old-time Life West professor. He created this thing called the level pelvis method. He's got a book out there on Amazon that you can read in about 5 minutes, because it's like 20 pages. So, and it's all pictures, but it's a lot about leveling the pelvis and that kind of thing. But I love that, you know, concept in terms of just letting the innate intelligence of the body, you know, work on turning and work on positioning the baby, you know, in its position. And if the pelvis is level and pelvis is functioning correctly, then that uterus is supple and it's able to do what it's supposed to, right? Versus the tight tendons and ligaments. But we had a question. Tell people quickly where they, if they want to find a Webster practitioner, where they find it.
Yeah, so I go straight to the ICPA registry. It's ICPA for kids
Okay.
.com, I think, .org.com. I can't remember. There's a find the chiropractor button. Just go online, type in the zip code or the city or whatever, and then it'll pop up everybody who is trained. The new website is awesome. If you guys haven't been on the ICPA's website, go check it out. The registry is super cool because Justin actually made a huge edit to it recently within the past couple of months, which shows you in real crystal clear and crystal clarity what each doctor's training level is. So Webster is the easiest, most entry level training that you can get. And then the next level up is the perinatal training, which is an 80-hour, no, I think it's 100 hours now. The perinatal training leads into the certification, which is a 200-hour course. And then that leads into the diplomate, which is the highest level training the ICPA offers, which is a 400-hour specialty training. So you can go online and you can figure out like where your referral needs to go and find out what kind of training the person has and go from there. And the more training that the patient has, or the doctor has, the more qualified they are to be able to help.
Well, we got to get to some questions here, man, because the chat is blowing up with some questions right here. I love it when the chat blows up with questions. The first one is, can you explain the latching protocol a bit more?
No.
Got to come to the seminar, huh?
Yeah. It's TJ. I would love to be able to share the magic latching adjustment in 5 minutes, but the amount of latching training that I have stuck in my head is probably 10 years worth of training. So the reason I specialize in it is because there's a lot of different stuff that goes into it, specifically with latching. If you want, TJ, I can hop on a call with you and I can kind of see if there's anything that I can help you with one-on-one. It's just a little bit too much for us to do a call. That being said, if you come to the seminar, the two most qualified doctors to teach latching specific chiropractic care are going to be there. Lynn Gerner is a master of tongue tie, cranial sacral latching, and Steph Libs. She's going to teach, I think she's teaching more perinatal oriented content, but she teaches an entire course on nothing but latching. So hopefully you guys can be there and you can hear from those guys. But yeah, TJ, if you want to talk offline, find me on Facebook and PM me. And
one of the really cool things about the event that we've created too is we've got some extended time during the breaks and things like that, really for people to network, to, you know, kind of talk it down. The old timers always talked about, hey, you got to talk it down. That's why you go. That's why you get in the room. That's why you get to these events, is because being surrounded by these people when we're hanging out by the pool or, you know, at dinner or whatever, those kind of things, that's going to be where the real gold is. There's a question here. Is the Webster technique only taught to DCs? All right, good.
Yes.
That's quick.
It should be. It should be. I know a lot of other Webster certified doctors who have learned it from other people other than Jeannie are teaching it in non-chiropractic settings, but it's a diversified chiropractic adjustment. And if you're not licensed to do that adjustment, you should not be learning it. That's my personal opinion.
So we also have a question here. I'm curious about your pediatric practice. What percentage of your pediatrics are special needs, and what kind of results are you seeing? Yeah.
Is that Dr. Rick? Yeah. Hey, Rick. Yeah. So I'll answer both of your questions first, because I see this new one about tongue ties. My practice specifically, I used to have a very special needs oriented practice, and I started to scale that back. And the reason is not because chiropractic care doesn't work really well for that type of stuff, because I was seeing a lot of kids with CP specifically, kids with seizure disorders, microcephaly, like cerebellar hyperplasia, stuff like that. And these kids do remarkably well. As a matter of fact, in case you're interested, we published a paper about 3 years ago now on a kiddo with a really specific gene defect called a CASC defect that is characterized by cerebellar hypoplasia. And this kiddo crushed. She did so freaking well. And I was a member of this Facebook group that was made up of parents with kids with CASC defects, and there's only like 200 of them in the whole world, and nobody knew where to bring their kids to get them the help that they needed, because I was kind of like Chiropractor Zero and we published this paper, I've been able to refer something like 60 or 70 cast kiddos to different chiropractors over the world so that these kids could get access to the care. So if you want to read that paper, it's in Matt McCoy's Family and Pediatrics Journal, or you can just send me a message offline and I'll just send you the transcript if you guys would like to see that. But I got away from it. And the reason is because it's a really, really heavy, very intensive approach to care. Kids with autism in particular, it's tough because in some cases, they can get violent. There's a lot of biting, there's a lot of headbutting, there's a lot of punching, a lot of stimming. I just did an intensive with a kiddo who flew in from Toronto who has a stim that when he gets overstimulated, he pushes his TMJ up against like hard objects, but to the point where he is bruising. So I was doing a lot of internal work with him and I got bit like 3 or 4. He almost took my finger clean off. But it was the only way for us to be able to get the correction that we're doing. So I scaled that part of my practice back just because it was a lot for me. It's not that I won't see these kids. It's just, it's not really my focus right now. So, and then with regards to tongue ties, can you expand on that, Dr. Fox?
Well,
I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, I think what we'll do is I'll have Dr. Fox reach out to you. Why don't you tell us, just quick editorial here. This is what I love about Dan. This is what I love about the type of people that, we're bringing to the event is like, they're all in. This is their life. This is their livelihood. Like they aren't part-time chiropractors. This isn't something that they do on the side. This is 24/7, 7 days a week. And that's the kind of folks that I resonate with. I always tell my students, you're never not a chiropractor, right? And I think you embody that, Dan. And I admire that about you so much, man. But tell people how they reach out to you or how they connect with you so you can kind of follow up on that stuff and maybe talk to them about coming to the event and that kind of thing. So.
Yeah, for sure. So why don't you guys just either reach out to me on Facebook, you can DM me, you can DM me on Instagram at Dr. Bronstein or Dr._Bronstein, I think is my name on Instagram, or you can email me directly at Bronstein, BRONSTEIN at chirobeacon.com. And I'll get back to you guys there. You want to set up a call, talk more in person. I consult with chiros all over the world about pediatric care.
And he means it too, because I just asked him about something else for another person. And he said, hey, let me know. I'll talk to him personally, kind of thing. Sorry, we both put it in there. So everybody's getting your contact info. But I wanted to thank you so much. You're going to stick around while we try to give away some money here? This is where it gets fun.
Yeah.
If you just joined us right now to come on the broadcast for the spin of the wheel, you missed some super good content today. So highly recommend that you go back to the YouTube channel and watch today's content. But if you haven't liked and subscribed to our channel, please take the opportunity to do so. That always helps us from the algorithm perspective. And it'll give you notifications. Set your notifications so that you know when we go live. Hopefully you're set up for our text messages. Everybody should be getting text message reminders when we go live. If you're not getting text messages about our content, reach out to Tiffany, our membership director. She'll make sure that we have the right phone number in there for you. Sometimes people just have their office number in their profile, which doesn't allow us to send you text messages. So that's a super important piece of the puzzle. If you're not getting our emails, make sure you're checking your promotions folder. Make sure you're checking your social folder, because sometimes it's just a matter of either checking those folders or, indicating which emails you want from the association and that kind of thing. So make sure you're getting our content, because we're trying to reach out to you via Facebook, via Instagram, via email, all the things. So hopefully we'll get and stay connected. So let's bring up the wheel. You saw the link already, right, for the pediatric symposium. We're just over 6 weeks away for the pediatric symposium. The room block, I didn't get a chance to see how many rooms were left on the room block, but I'll make sure I update you guys next week. But like I said, the room block's going fast. You can find the details about the room block when you register for the event on our calchiro.org website. And like I said, the price for the rooms, you're going to have a hard time beating the price for the rooms that we got you. So especially Oceanside, right on the cliff, overlooking the beach and the ocean and the tide pools and all the things, man. So I'm super excited. All right, so let's see how many names are we gonna spin today. I know we gave away some money last week, so I think we're doing. Was it last week or the week before? So we're back to 3 names. Okay, we're gonna do 3 names this week. Let's spin the first. Do the first spin of the wheel and see if we can give away Anna Yakunko. You know Anna?
Hey,
Do you?
I know Anna.
She's
Yeah, we
got
went to school
30
together.
seconds to come and claim the prize. You'll have to text her, man, and tell her she won some money, but hopefully she's here to claim it. You know, if you got her number, text her. She's got 13 seconds now, but yeah, maybe that's a good that's a sign right there from the universe, man. Anna needs to be joining us at the pediatric conference. All those personal reach outs, those always help. Well, it looks like Anna wasn't here today to win the money, but she was a winner. But remember, you have to be present to win. So let's make our second spin. Arnaldo Alaman, you have 30 seconds to come and claim your prize. Man, this was a lot of fun. I feel like maybe we should do another one of these here in a few weeks or so. And I don't know, we'll have more content or we could do an Ask Me Anything. It sounds like people have a lot of questions, you know. I always like those Ask Me Anythings because people come with some good questions. So, Arnaldo Alaman, you have 5 seconds to come and claim your prize. Oh, thank you. Marissa's helping me. But I don't think Arnaldo is here today. Marissa's helping me keep track of how many times we spun. Let's spin the wheel one more time this week. Oh my gosh, my boy Bo Rhodes just won the money. But is he here today? I'm gonna have. Oh, I can't believe it. I'm gonna have to text him right now. Somebody let Bo Rhodes know that he was the winner today. Hopefully he's on here. He's got 10 seconds. He's been on before. Kristen, to answer your question, everybody who's a member is in the drawing to win the money. Hopefully, if you're not a member, you'll consider joining us. I haven't had the opportunity to meet you just yet. Tiffany, maybe you can put the link to CalChiro in the chat. But it doesn't look like we have a winner this week. My buddy Bo Rhodes missed out. Yeah, hit him up, Bo. Let him know he was the winner today. Or hit him up, Joe. Let him know Bo was the winner. But thank you, everybody, for joining me today. Thank you, Dr. Bronstein, for being on. Looking forward to seeing you soon, man.
Yeah, ditto, guys. And get registered. This thing is going to be freaking awesome. I can't wait to see you all.
We only have limited space, too, so make sure you do it now. So